Welcome to this new video. This is video number 2 in the Splunk Cloud series that I'm creating. So if you're watching this video and you haven't watched any other video that I created before or that I'm gonna be creating later, consider subscribing to my channel. I'm browsing the library of videos that I have. I'm creating a section on Splunk Cloud administration and management. The first video was an introduction to Splunk. It's 30 minutes long, where I talk about what is Splunk Cloud, why do you need it, how it can benefit your organization, so on and so forth. Now, if you find this information useful, I would ask you to consider leaving a nice comment, subscribing to my channel, and clicking on the like button. And also, I'm going to ask you that if you have any feedback that you would like me to consider, because I'm going to be creating more and more videos, you could leave that on the comment section and I will consider that for future videos. As I said before, this is for people who are new to Splunk and they want to learn about what Splunk is, what it does, and how to use it and manage it. These videos, the number 1 and this is number 2, are introduction. So if you are an experienced system administrator or somebody who has experience with Splunk, perhaps this is not the video for you. So I'm gonna come over to my Splunk trial environment that I created, and this is something that we went over in the first video, how you can create a 14 days trial for you to use. And we talked about different sections of Splunk, what it does, the different menus. What we're gonna cover now is apps and add-ons, because when you're using Splunk Cloud, pretty much that's where you're going to be configuring and doing a lot of your work in, to either ingest the data or to see the data visualized in a way that makes sense to you. Okay, but before we go any further, let's do a quick review of what we covered last time, and again, what Splunk Cloud is. So as you could see, this is a graph that I took from Splunk documentation, where it shows you a basic architecture of Splunk Cloud, or not even the architecture, but basically different components of Splunk Cloud. As you could see, we have this section right here that we can call these your client devices, right? And by client, I mean any device where you want to collect information from, that you're going to be ingesting that data into a Splunk Cloud. We have Linux systems, we have Macs, Windows, and heavy forwarders, so on and so forth. Actually, the heavy forwarders are not a client device, because they're not going to have that universal forwarder to send that information directly to Splunk Cloud, but we'll talk about it more in details when we get to that section of installing and configuring universal forwarders. So what I wanted to say, and what we covered last time, is that information from these devices, and by information, I'm talking about the information that you would like to collect, system information, security information, or any other type of information that this system have the capabilities of producing. You can send that information over to Splunk Cloud, right? And there are many different ways that you can collect that information. In the case of this example, we're using universal forwarders, and we're going to be talking about universal forwarders more in details in the future, to send that information over to Splunk Cloud. And if you had, for instance, let's say that you have your AWS or your Azure, Microsoft Azure environment, you're not going to be able to install universal forwarders on AWS and Azure. In that case, you're going to be collecting that information by using add-ons that you're going to be installing on right here in Splunk, right? So AWS and Azure, they need add-ons configured for you to be able to input information into Splunk Cloud or ingest information into Splunk Cloud. So let me get rid of this for 1 second and open another window so you'll know what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna come down here. Let me get this out of the way. I'm gonna come down here to this apps section. So when you log in into your Splunk admin portal, there's a section that says apps, which is the same section right here, by the way. And as you could see, it has a predetermined set of apps that have been installed that they're part of the deployment. For instance, search and reporting, cloud monitoring console, discover Splunk, so on and so forth. And then you have apps and add-ons that you can install depending on what you are trying to do or what you want to do. And for that, you would click on find more apps. And when you click on that, that's going to bring you to another screen where you're going to be able to search apps for your specific needs. You can search apps by categories, as you can see here, or you can set apps by CIM version, the app types, and all that. I found it easier, instead of going by categories, to search app per technology or per solution specific. For instance, if I'm working with Microsoft Office 365, that is what I have as part of emails and SharePoint and all that in the organization, you could do a search for Microsoft. Let's just do Microsoft, and you hit enter, so you'll see everything in here. When you do that, this Splunk menu is going to show you different apps that you can use that are related to Microsoft. In this case, we have Microsoft Office 365 app for Splunk, and then we have Splunk add-on for Microsoft Windows. This is where you have to be very clear in understanding what the difference is between an app and an add-on. An add-on is an application that enables Splunk to ingest data or map a particular type of data into Splunk. Let me tell you this. Remember this example that I was showing you before right here, and I'm going to use this as an example. I know that it's not a complete diagram, but it serves its purpose right now. Let's say that we have servers in here, right? And these are on-prem servers or virtual servers somewhere. And these servers are producing logs that we would like to ingest in Splunk. In that case, we're going to be using an app, and we're going to be using what could be used as the as the add-on or the app, which is the universal forwarder. The universal forwarder is going to send that data into Splunk, but you need to configure an add-on to receive that data in your Splunk Cloud connection. So now let me come here to this other screen, and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. If I can close this nice menu. All right, so let me get this out of the way. So when you let me come right here. When you install the add-on, and let me get this out of the way right now. Now that I'm here, Splunk add-on for Microsoft Windows, right? Or we can do a Splunk add-on for Sysmon. Let me do one for Office 365. So we can do exactly what I want to do. right here, Splunk add-on for Microsoft Office 365. Let me bring another diagram that I have created, and this is a little bit ugly because I didn't complete it. So let me do a couple of connections in here. As you can see, we have our hybrid environment where we have our firewall that provides access to the public network, and we have all this infrastructure that is internally is on-prem, and it connects to the firewall. The switch, the AP connects to the switch, and the servers connects to the switches, so the VMware environment. So in this section, we have our cloud architecture. We have Azure Active Directory, and we have AWS, and we have websites. So when you want to collect information, for instance, from Azure Active Directory, or you want to collect information from AWS and send it over to your, in this case, I'm going to say your Splunk Cloud, right? You need to you need an application that is going to be able to receive that information and digest that information and then present it in a way that makes sense. And that's what the add-on is going to do for you. If I go back right here to the add-on settings, let me get this out of the way, and I click on install, I'm doing this because I already know that this is the add-on that I need to collect the information that I'm looking for. And how do you know that? You're going to have to read the description of the add-on, as you can see right here. You could see that it collects audit logs from Azure Active Directory, SharePoint, Exchange Online, so on and so forth. And you can do more. You can read the entire description. And you need to install this add-on into your Splunk Cloud or Splunk Enterprise, but I'm creating all these videos specifically for Splunk Cloud. So the way you do it, you click on install, and that's going to prompt you for a username and password. Now, the username and password that you're going to type here in this box is not the username and password that you use to connect to the Splunk management configuration. It could be the same, but it may not be the same. So sometimes it's kind of confusing to some people, because when you log into your Splunk Cloud Management Console, it could be a unique username, but when you need to install the apps, you need a Splunk.com account. So if you don't have a Splunk.com account, you need to create it, which is free, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and log into this. Let me find my credentials. And I typed in my username and password. And as you can see here, it says that Splunk add-on for Office 365 is being downloaded and installed. And then, it just took a couple of seconds and it was successfully installed. So I'm going to click on done. And I'm going to head over to my main screen, to the home screen. And as you can see here, I have Splunk add-on for Microsoft Office 365. So there is some configuration that is going to happen on the Splunk side of things, and there's going to be configuration that is going to take place on the Microsoft Office 365 side of things. So if you have access to both, great. Most likely you're going to have access only to the Splunk side of things, and you're going to have to ask whoever is managing the Office 365 side of things. So you need to connect the tenants and create that information. Now, it's not as simple as just adding the tenant. There is configuration that needs to take place on Microsoft Office 365. And for that, you need to read the documentation to properly set up that environment. Once you have that connection, it doesn't mean that it automatically is going to start ingesting data. Then you have to start creating and configuring the inputs for the data that you would like to collect once you have that connection ready. So you would click on create new input, and these are the different inputs options that you're going to be able to see. Now, these inputs are, once you have them configured, let's say that I click on configure here. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do that because I don't have a tenant configured yet. This is something, I'm going to create another video in detail for this. But it's just to give you an idea that you need to provide all this information and you need to plan for this, because the data is going to be retained for a set number of times depending on the input that you are configuring. So you need to plan for this. The other thing that you have to keep in mind is that the input name sometimes is specific to the add-on that you are configuring. Meaning that if you create your own input name, it's gonna be fine that you're gonna be able to do that. But perhaps you're gonna have some issues when you're working on the application, or the application is not gonna be able to present all the data because it's looking for the data in a different input name. And after saying all this, I have a feeling that I have to create a detailed video on the Microsoft side and on the Splunk side for this to work. So that's what an add-on does. It receives the data and allows you to ingest the data into Splunk. An app, on the other way, is what's going to show you the data in a graphical way that makes sense to you. It provides the interface that is going to allow you to work and see that ingested data in a useful format. So let me come back here to Splunk apps one more time. And as you can see, I already installed a Microsoft Office 365 app for Splunk. So if your goal is to manage Microsoft Office 365 data, you need to install the add-ons and the apps, and there are many different apps that you can use. I selected to use this app right here because this app is gonna show me information that is relevant to what I want to collect. As you can see here, nothing is being shown or displayed because I'm not ingesting any data. So I would advise you to read the documentation of the add-ons, and I would advise you to read the documentation of the app so you'll know, or you will have an idea of the data that you're going to be collecting to make sure that that data is going to be useful to you. There may be a case where you don't want to be using this app because it does not collect Microsoft virtual environment, right? So in that case, you need to find an app that is going to be able to represent the data that you would like to see. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is that sometimes there are apps that are going to require information from different sources, which means that you need to install different add-ons for that app to function properly. And one of the big examples of that, this is just the official page for the Microsoft 365 app for Splunk. Is very useful. This is what I was saying. You have to read the documentation for each app and each add-on because they do have specific requirements that must be met for that to function properly. And this is a perfect example of that. In order for this app to function properly, besides configuring the add-on, you need to configure all these requirements that are listed here. So there are different apps. There's an InfoSec app, for instance. Let me show you this. This app is gonna show you security information from different sources in an easy to read way or something like this, hopefully, right? In order for this app to function properly, you need to ingest the data from the different sources, meaning that you need to collect that information using different add-ons in your configuration. I see, probably it's right here. So here it is a perfect example of that. And not only that, in order for this app to work properly, you need to do a specific configurations and tweaking accelerations to the app. So I'm gonna stop right here this video. I just wanted to talk about add-ons and apps. If there's anything you're gonna get out of this video, remember the add-ons are gonna allow you to ingest data into Splunk, and you have to configure that specifically to each application that you would like to ingest data from, and then you have to configure the inputs, and then the apps are gonna represent that ingested data in a graphical and useful way for you to use it. I believe that I spent 20 minutes talking a lot of things. I should have just said that from the beginning. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you watched this far, thank you. I really appreciate that. I would appreciate if you leave a comment. I'm going to be creating a series of Splunk Cloud videos, and I want to make them more useful and clearer every time that I create a video. So your feedback is highly appreciated. Click on the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you on the next video.